In this video, we're going to have a closer look at the products and item maintenance modules right after this. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Optima. This module allows you to maintain the list of products linked to each department. There are actually two maintenance windows for this module. The Quick Entry module, where you can modify the displayed fields in a grid format, or the Item Maintenance window, which gives you access to all the fields and options by double-clicking on one of the rows. Let's close this window and look at the Product Maintenance window first. Modifications to the displayed fields may be done directly in the grid area. Once the focus is within the grid area, you may use the arrow up and arrow down keys to move rows. Use the arrow right and arrow left keys to change columns. To edit a field, click directly on the cell you want to change. Clicking a second time in the same cell will place the cursor at the desired location. Clicking a second time in the same cell at the end of the field will highlight the entire word and allow you to type and replace the text. Pressing Ctrl Z will undo the last change. Clicking a third time in the same cell at the end of the word will place the cursor at the end, allowing you to add more text. When you are editing a field, you may use the Tab and Shift Tab keys to change columns. Press Enter to complete the change and move to the next row. Please note that changes to a row will not take effect until you exit the row. The products may be sorted by clicking on one of the column headers in ascending or descending order. You may also click on the Filter button to filter the list of products. Typing in the filter field will display all products containing the typed text. For example, if I'm looking for Apple products, I can type A in the name field. Then P to further filter the products. Click on the X to clear the filter. You may also combine filters. Let's say I'm looking for a Chardonnay product. I know it should be under the alcoholic beverages, so I can filter for that first. Then I can further filter the list by typing in CH to find the Chardonnay products. You can double-click on the filter button to clear all filters. So let's say you want to quickly change the price of the appetizers from $6 to $7. You can do this by filtering the departments. Then click in the Price 1 column, enter 7, and press on the Enter key repeatedly. To remove the filters, just click on the Filter button. You can insert or duplicate products by clicking on the buttons below. This will open up the Items Maintenance window. You can also get to this window by double-clicking on any of the rows to further edit the product. As you can see, you now have access to all product settings and options. As with most of the other maintenance windows, the screen is divided into three sections. The top section, the grid area, displays all the products in a row and column format. We have a row for each product in the database. Unlike the previous window, you cannot edit the data directly in the grid. You must select one of the rows, which will then display the data associated with that product. Changes must be performed in the data entry area below. Let's have a closer look at each of these settings and options. The PLU may be any valid unique number. Duplicates are not allowed, and any reference to the old value must be removed before being allowed to modify the value. Enter the name of the product and the second name in one of the supported languages. This is the name used when sending orders to the kitchen printer, if the Use Second Names option has been enabled for the kitchen printer in hardware maintenance. SKU may be typed in or entered using a scanner connected to your computer. This also must be a unique value. No duplicates are allowed. By default, the values will be left filled with 0 to a maximum of 14 characters. The department may be chosen from the list of defined departments. The link allows you to link together one or more products. For example, let's say there is a 10-cent deposit associated with every pop can that is sold. I can create a new product called Deposits. And then link this product to my soft drinks. On GoPause, each time I sell a soft drink, the 10-cent deposit will automatically be added to the transaction. Modifier groups may also be linked to a product in the same way. We will look at setting up modifiers and modifier groups in another video. If you hover over the link or modifier group, you will see a pop-up of the name of each product or modifier group linked to the product. A price field will be displayed for each price level you define. In this example, we have 2 price levels defined. You will notice that the promotion field is grayed out and cannot be modified. In fact, this is also true of the tax, print on, and options, and stock. This is because we have set up the products to default from the department options. To change this, let's look at the Settings module. Here are the setting options we are looking for. Enabling Setting 1, Individual Options for Products, will allow us to make changes to the options at the product level. The products will still default the options from the department, but this will allow us to change the option on a specific product. In fact, let's enable all the product settings. The easiest way to find them is to group the settings by product. Let's turn them all on. Individual print options for products, individual taxes for products, individual modifier groups for products, and last, individual promotions for products. Let's save these changes and head back to the products. Now, when I edit my products, I have full access to all these options at the product level. Normally, having the products follow the department options is sufficient, but there may be exceptions. Just don't forget to disable these options if you are making changes to a department and want to update all the products once you save the department change. If you have the individual options for products enabled, changes to the department options will not update the product options. Now that all the individual options for products have been enabled, we can now select one of the defined promotions, or click on the promotion button to create a new one. We will have a look at promotions in another video. Select one or more of the taxes applicable to the product, or again, click on the tax button to bring you directly to the tax maintenance module. Select one or more of the printers or customer displays that should display these products, and select the font to use for the receipt and kitchen printer. The product options are pretty much the same as what we have discussed when setting up the departments. Zero prices are not allowed. Select this option if all product items must have a non-zero price to be sold. If this option is enabled, items may be defined with zero prices but will no longer be allowed to be sold. This applies to each price level. If the user attempts to sell the item on GoPause, a warning message indicating that zero prices are not allowed will pop up and the item sale will not be allowed. To sell the item with this option enabled, you must choose a price level with a non-zero price or change the item price to a non-zero value. The user must also enter non-zero prices for open department sales. Prices are negative. All product item prices are entered as positive values, but subtracted from the transaction total. Scalable. Items sold in bulk or weight should be marked as scalable. The total price will be calculated based on the weight measured by the scale or entered by the clerk. A warning message will be displayed if no scale has been defined in hardware maintenance. Tare weight may also be defined for each product. If defined, the total price will be calculated based on the weight measured by the scale or entered by the clerk minus the tare weight. Print weight volume info line. If chosen, weight or volume of the item will be included in the pricing printed on the receipt. The base weight and base volume measurements defined in setting options will be used. Setting 18, base weight unit, and setting 75, base volume unit. Single item. Entering a single item product automatically begins and ends the transaction with the item entry. The first tender declared will be used. Manager required. Select this option if the user requires managerial rights. On GoPause, any user without managerial rights will get a manager required warning message and will not be allowed to sell the item without performing a managerial override. No decimal point entry. If this option is enabled, department products can only be sold in whole units. When the option is disabled, decimal values are allowed and products may be sold in partial units. Price 3 decimals. Items sold by volume should be marked as price 3 decimals. Enabling this option will indicate that the products are measurable and a volume may be entered when entering transactions. If this option is enabled, department product prices will be displayed with 3 decimal places. Food stamp. Select this option to allow product sales to be tendered using food stamps. Hash department. If enabled, product sales will not be included in total sales and will not affect revenue. Open price. Select this option to enable open product sales. Users are allowed to enter a price before selecting the product to override the price without having to hit the price override function. If this option is disabled, entering an amount before pressing on the product will treat the amount as a multiplier. When this option is enabled, you must enter the amount and press on the multiplier X symbol before pressing on the product to treat the amount as a multiplier. Click on the stock radio button to enable or disable inventory tracking for the selected product. A data entry subsection will appear, allowing you to further define the stock settings. Cost. Enter the actual cost of the product. This will be used to calculate your margins when generating the stock reports, which we will discuss in another video. Supplier ID. Select one of the suppliers from the drop-down, or click on the button to get access to the supplier maintenance module. You may enter a minimum stock count. Once this stock on hand reaches or goes below this limit, the product will be included in the stock minimum quantities report, as well as the stock min quantities by supplier report. A nice feature in this window is that you can also make edits to multiple products at once. To perform a multi-select edit, first select the product to display in the data entry area, then using either the Shift key for contiguous selections or the Control key for non-contiguous selections, select the additional products you want to edit. For example, let's go back to our appetizers example and change the price. Select the wings. Then select the remainder of the appetizers. You may use the Shift key to select everything in between, or use Control click to remove or add individual products. Now change the price or any other option available. Please note that only the changes will be applied to the selection. So if you want to ensure that all the selected products get the same value, you can turn the option off, then back on. Now save the changes, and you will see that all selected products were updated. Of course, like all other maintenance windows, you can insert new records, duplicate records, and you may also perform deletions. You may also perform multi-select deletions. However, let's close this window and I'll show you how that's done in the product grid view. You can delete rows directly on the grid. Select the row you want to delete and click on the minus sign. You can also right-click on the row number you want to delete and select Delete. If the product is being referenced, as it is in this case, a message will be displayed indicating where it is being referenced. In this example, it is referenced on the keyboard layout. If I quickly go to the keyboards and remove the reference to the wings product, I can return to the product window and delete the wings. As mentioned, you may also delete multiple rows at a time. Simply select the first row you want to delete, then press and hold the Shift key and click on the last row. This will select all contiguous rows. To select non-contiguous rows, press and hold the Control key. Once you have all your rows selected, click on the minus sign. A warning message will be displayed if there are any references, but it will allow you to delete the rows. It is up to you to go and clean up any of the deleted references. GoPause will continue to function if you don't. However, this will slow down the system and will display error messages every time an invalid entry is referenced. You may also delete all your products by using the Select All function. Simply click on the upper left corner of the grid to select all rows. Click on the Delete will remove all rows. In most cases, you won't want to do this. But don't forget, as long as you don't save the changes, you can always undo the deletion by closing the window and selecting No. When I reopen the product maintenance window, my products are redisplayed as they were before the deletions. There are instances where deleting all products does make sense. For example, let's say I want to work with a new product list. I can delete the current product list using the Select All and then import a new list using the Import function. But before we look at the Import function, let's look at the Export function. The Product Export window allows you to export the product list to a delimiter separated file. You can export the data with or without headers, and you can use any of the supported delimiters. Normally, you'd want to use a comma to create a CSV or comma separated file. Click on Export and name and save the file in the folder of your choice. You can then view the file and make changes if required. Just be careful. If you are using Excel to edit the file, you will want to rename the file to have a TXT extension. Open Excel and then use the File Open to open your export file as a text file. This will allow you to map each column in Excel. When you do, be sure to map the PLUs and SKUs as text fields. Otherwise, Excel will convert these large numbers to exponential notation, and the SKU will not be usable. Make sure Excel saves these changes as text. In this case, I can open and view the file using WordPad. Now that we have an export of our products, let's delete the products from PCPROG. Let's save the changes. And we can now re-import the products back into PCPROG using the import function. First, navigate to the file you want to import and click on Open. This will open the file and attempt to parse out the columns using the specified delimiter. If your data does not contain a header, simply change the option. In this case, this data does have a header, and I don't want to include the header as part of the data. Changing the delimiter will reparse your data using the specified delimiter, if it can. We created the export file using a comma delimiter, so I will set this to comma. We can now map each of the columns in the CSV file to one of the PCPROG data fields. By default, each of the columns is set to Do Not Import or Skip. If the column is mapped to this value, it will not be imported. It will be skipped. Mapping a data column to PLU will validate the data to ensure that all entries are valid numeric integers and that they are all unique. No duplicates are allowed. If you do not map the PLU, all entries will be inserted into PCPROG with a new sequential PLU number. Caption is a required field in PCPROG, so you must map one of the data columns to the caption. You will not be allowed to import until you have mapped the caption field. When you do, the data will be validated to ensure that all fields are valid, non-blank text values. If the value exceeds the maximum length of 25 characters, it will be truncated. In fact, I can import this data with just the caption mapped. As you can see, all data rows were created with a unique sequential PLU. Since we did not map the department field, they were all assigned to the first department, appetizers, and inherited all properties and options from that department. You must have at least one department defined before being allowed to import any products. Let's delete these products and properly map each of the data columns. Let's map the PLU, caption, and this time department. PCPROG will verify that all fields are numeric integers that match an existing department ID in our database. If a matching department ID is not found in the database, the reference must be corrected, or a new department must be created before importing. The SKU and link are blank, so we will skip these. I will come back to these later using a different CSV file. Price columns must be valid currency values. Options, print, taxes, promotions, and modifier groups are all pipe delimited integer values, where the integer corresponds to one of the IDs in PCPROG. For example, all the products are currently being linked to tax ID 1 and tax ID 2. If you do not map these fields, the values will default from their respective departments if the individual options for products are disabled. These are setting 1, 2, 3, and 74 in the setting maintenance module. The print font and kitchen printer font must be integer values from 0 to 15, corresponding to one of the supported fonts. You can press F1 to view the help file to see what each value corresponds to. We can now click on Import, and as long as there are no errors, each row in the CSV file will be imported into PCPROG. Let's do this again, but this time I'm not going to delete the products before importing the CSV file. This time I'm going to map the PLU, the price column to price 2, and of course the caption since it is required. Now when I click on Import, because we mapped the PLU, PCPROG will look in the database, and if it finds a corresponding PLU, it will update the row using the map data in the CSV file. In this case, using the price to populate the price 2. If PCPROG does not find a matching PLU in the database, it will create a new product with the specified PLU number. Let's go back and import this data one more time. This time, I'm not going to map the PLU. I'm only going to map the caption and the price. When I click on Import, because we didn't map the PLU, PCPROG will create new entries for all the rows in the CSV file. So in this case, we get duplicate products. But as you can see, if I sort it, different PLUs. So if the PLU column is mapped, any matching records in the database will be updated. If no matching PLU is found, a new entry will be inserted. If the PLU column is not mapped, all valid rows in the CSV file will be inserted. It is also important to note that if the PLU is to be mapped, you should do this before mapping the SKU and link columns. Let me show you why. This time, I'm going to use a different CSV file. In this case, we get an error indicating that PCPROG could not parse the file. If I click on OK, it looks like the file does not have a header. So let's change this. This time, the column headers are just generic column 1, column 2, column 3, etc. And it appears that the delimiter is a comma. Now let's try and map the link and SKU columns before mapping the PLU. Obviously, you need to have an understanding of your raw data. In this case, I know that column 6 is a product link. So let's try mapping this to the PCPROG link field. So we see that this generates 6 errors, all related to value 797 with a PLU not found. If I look at the data file, I can see that there is a product 797, which is a 20-cent levy. But since we haven't mapped the PLU field yet, PCPROG looks to see if product 797 exists in the current database. And since it does not, we get the error. Now let's try mapping the SKU. In this case, I know that my data has this in column 5. Here I also get an error in row 19. The SKU for the Coca-Cola product, uppercase, is also the same as the SKU above it. So to fix this, you must decide if the two rows are both valid products, and if so, which of the two has the incorrect SKU. In fact, you may have noticed that there is a third Coca-Cola product with a very similar SKU, so there may be some cleanup to do. In this case, I would probably rename the file to have a txt extension, open Excel, and map my data, making sure that column 5 is mapped as a text so that Microsoft Excel does not try and convert these large numbers into exponential format. You can then sort this column and clean up any duplicates. Sorting by column 2, the name of the product, would also be a quick way of finding any products without a name and also finding duplicate products. Don't forget, because we haven't mapped the PLU yet, PCPROG thinks that we want to create new product entries with new PLU numbers. So PCPROG also checks all existing SKUs in the current database for duplicates. If it finds one, you will get an error saying that the SKU is already assigned to an existing product. So now let's map the PLU column and see how this affects mapping of link and SKU columns. Now let's remap the link. No more errors, since product 797 will be created when we import the file. Now let's remap the SKU. We still have the one error remaining, which is the duplicate Coca-Cola product that we already know we need to clean up. The other data we would want to map is column 2, the caption. Don't forget, this is a required field. The price, and the department in column number 4. I get 2 errors, both related to department 9 not found. If you map the department, you must ensure that all department IDs in your data file have a corresponding entry in your existing database. So either I change the data to reference an existing department, or in this case, let's go and create a new department number 9. Now when we import the department, we no longer have any errors. Let's map the rest of the fields and import the file. The one error indicates we still have a duplicate SKU, so that product did not get imported. But all remaining products have been correctly imported with their PLU number. Well, that is it for now. And don't forget, you can always press F1 to get help on the products module. And if you're having any issues importing data, just send us an email at possupport@optimagopos.ca. Stay tuned, and in the next video, we will have a closer look at the promotions module.
Why don't you subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can get notified as soon as we upload any new videos. Also, if you want to learn more about the Optima APOS series line of products or need any POS accessories such as barcode scanners, printers, Windows PC POS terminals, and more, visit www.optimagopos.ca. Again, that's www.optimagopos.ca. I'm Brandon from Optima, and I'll see you again.